So Gabriel is asking, can you please explain the origin of the Jabez prayer?
So I know that I remember back when I was around college time where the book of Jabez or the prayer of Jabez came out. It was a little book about it, and sort of like this big fad of, and I'm not trying to use it derogatorily, but encouraging people to be bold with their prayers. And there is a little bit of biblical basis for it. It comes from the book of First Chronicles, starting at chapter 4, verse 9. And it says, "Now Jabez was more honorable than his brothers, and his mother called his name Jabez, saying, because I bore him in pain. And Jabez called on the God of Israel, saying, Oh, that you would bless me indeed and enlarge my territory, and your hand would be with me, and that you would keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain. So God granted him what he requested." So this is where the prayer of Jabez came from. It's here in the Bible, and definitely a thing I think of, but probably not as often as I should, because it does, I think, give us some encouragement to be willing to be bold with our prayers. But it is interesting with his prayer that it's not just for himself, but I think that as a prayer of Jabez book brings out, these things could be a blessing and God could be glorified through granting this prayer.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, I love that prayer. And I remember when that came out too, that little book. And I think some people took it to an extreme, but I think, you see in this prayer that, Jabez seems very humble. He's like, Lord, bless me that I can be a blessing. And I think that's a very solid prayer for any of us to pray.
And I think it's also interesting that, it says his mother said, I bore him in pain, and he's saying, help me to not bring pain upon anyone. So it's like this thing that was part of him coming into the world, and he's like, he feels burdened by it, and he's like, God, set me free from this. And
I don't want to be defined by my past.
Yeah.
I think that's really true. I think it's a really beautiful thought. I mean, how many of us have, things that we're born into? It's not our fault, maybe our parents, had a sin in their life, and we want to correct that in our lives. We don't want to keep that sin ongoing. We don't want to keep, bad things going. We want to reverse that and, free ourselves from those curses and from those things. And I think God is more than happy to answer that prayer. If you have parents that have addiction, Lord, set me free from this addiction, that I might not have an addiction and pass this to my children. I think that's a very solid prayer. And I think, you see that even in the third commandment, we're talking about don't take the Lord's name in vain. He says, because, basically the curses are to those children of people who hate me, but blessing is to those, and mercy is to those who love me and keep my commandments. So God definitely wants to break down those curses and bring in new and beautiful things into our lives if we ask him to.
Amen.
Amen.